Hi everyone, gonna do a review of both seasons of The Mandalorian, seasons 1 and 2. This is a very popular show set in the Star Wars universe. It is one of my favorites, particularly these two seasons, and I like it because it blends both science fiction and the American Western into Star Wars. The Mandalorian was most notable for bringing in the Mandalorian culture. You'd see characters like Boba Fett and Jango Fett, their cool armor and everything, but you never really got to understand who they were. And you see that with the character of Din Djarin and his history with them. This is a show that reminds me of space westerns like Firefly with Nathan Fillion. And in other cases, it is directly inspired by the stuff that George Lucas liked, which was the samurai pictures, the shows and movies that showed samurais and also the gunfighter in the American West. And you see that character kind of all rolled into one with Din Djarin, the main character, the Mandalorian. And you get a different side of Star Wars. You get to see smugglers, bounty hunters, gangsters, and yeah, there's stormtroopers there because this is after the events of Return of the Jedi. And so there's kind of like a power vacuum that has happened since the defeat of the Empire. But yeah, it's just him doing his job, and then he finds Grogu and takes care of him. And Grogu's an important element to the story and to the character of Din Djarin. It brings him his humanity. You know, he takes care of uh, Grogu and watches out for him, almost like a father figure. Season 1 was a perfect encapsulation of Din Djarin finding Grogu and learning about him and understanding what his purpose is and protecting him from the Empire. It's very similar to stuff like Lone Wolf and Cub of a samurai protecting a child, or even stuff like The Last of Us, you know, Joel protecting Ellie. There's a we have a lot of shows and movies that do this of like a older person protecting like this young kid, and for the most part it works. And especially in this show, it's really cool to see Din protect Grogu and also come to realize that Grogu is special. He has a connection to the Force, and yeah, it's surprising, especially when other characters witness this power for themselves. A big reason why The Mandalorian season 1 was so successful is that for the first time we thought as Star Wars fans that this show was made by people who love Star Wars, who love the things that George Lucas was inspired by to make Star Wars, which were the Akira Kurosawa movies and the westerns, and bringing that into the Star Wars space. And yeah, it just feels, you know, genuine. It feels like they care about the story. And if you had problems with the sequel trilogy, with its writing, you know, the first two seasons of The Mandalorian have some of the best Star Wars writing that I've ever seen. And that's a testament to people like Jon Favreau and to Dave Filoni, who worked on season 1, season 2. And especially for Jon Favreau, because I think he does a great job of really focusing on the Mandalorians, on Din Djarin, and what he has to do as you know, a bounty hunter. And that was really impressive. And you get some great action scenes with Din fighting off stormtroopers. It almost reminds me of elements of John Wick. Mandalorian season 1, pretty good. Mandalorian season 2 is just excellent. You have a story that, you know, moves at a fast pace. A lot of stuff is going on. You have more characters, but they all have something to do. And that is not a bad thing. They all have something to do, and they enhance the story rather than, you know, ruin it. The action in the show is turned up to 11 in season 2. You have great visual effects. You have stuff where, you know, Din meets more Mandalorians, and this is a different group of them, and you know, they're familiar for anyone who watched the Clone Wars, especially with Bo-Katan, played by Katie Sackhoff. She's a great character, and her squad of Mandalorians are fun to watch. In terms of the familiar characters that you will see in season two, you have Ahsoka. And her episode titled The Jedi is an amazing episode. It feels like a samurai movie. It feels like an Akira Kurosawa film. The editing, the blocking, everything showing her, sneaking around, taking out enemies with her lightsabers is just magnificent. And her dialogue with Din Djarin and talking about the history of the Jedi and Grogu's purpose and all of it is great. And Rosario Dawson is a great actor to play Ahsoka, and it works. Another character that shows up in this season that was teased in season one is Boba Fett, and I remember that being an amazing scene to watch. His episodes where he's joined with Din Djarin and Bo Katan are great. And yeah, I remember that being a big plus to this season. Me and the fans just love seeing that character in action, killing stormtroopers, being that gunslinger character, mercenary that he was in the original trilogy. And you got to see that. And you got to see that he's a merciless character, just like he was in like the expanded universe fiction with the video games and the comics. And it was just a welcome thing to see. And his episodes were directed by Robert Rodriguez, who is great at directing amazing action sequences. And just seeing Boba Fett and Din Djarin work together is just it is great. Another character that makes a great appearance is in the finale episode of season two, and that is Luke Skywalker. His introduction, his fight scenes were great, and it was a great finale to that season, and a lot of us Star Wars fans loved it. Um, in general, like I said with season one's review, anyone can watch the show. I mean, yeah, it is centered on the hardcore Star Wars fans that love this stuff, but if you're a casual, if you're just a person that hasn't watched Star Wars, you can watch The Mandalorian and you'd kind of get it. And yeah, I would recommend this show to anyone who isn't really a big Star Wars fan or a casual Star Wars fan. It's a great show to watch. And there's just a lot of great standout episodes that just show how good this show was. And in particular, there was one where Din Djarin sneaks into an Imperial base and he has to take his helmet off, talk to an Imperial officer, and there's like this great, you know, dialogue between him and the officer talks about what their whole deal is, what the Empire's reasoning for doing what they did in the Galactic Civil War, and it's like a really haunting thing about what it all took, and because they're kind of based around what the Nazis were, the Imperial Army in Star Wars. They're kind of based off of you know German stormtroopers and stuff. And so this guy who, is talking about basically fascism, and like he's telling Din like this is what it took to, uh, put the galaxy under our thumb. And it's kind of scary, like this belief that what we are doing is, right. And I thought it was a very great scene. And Pedro Pascal is just like listening. He's not even, you know, talking in this scene. He's just listening to this guy, and his expression on his face is just, it's good. It's great acting. There's not a lot of movement with his face. He's just listening to this guy ramble on about, working for the Empire. And overall, my closing thoughts on this is that The Mandalorian is a great show. Seasons one and two are great, and I wanted to, catch up because the movie The Mandalorian and Grogu, which closes out this story, is coming out next year, I believe in May of 2026. So I'm just prepping and rewatching the seasons. I'll do a season three review soon of that. And it's not as good as seasons one and two, but there are some high points still. It's just it doesn't come close to what we got with the first two seasons. And this show is just an amazing, introduction to, Mandalorians, to show the mix of using Star Wars with a Western. And it just works. And overall, I'm going to give season two of The Mandalorian. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. And yeah, overall, watch them, take a look at them. They're both out on Blu-ray if you like physical media. And yeah, that'll do it. All right, guys, have a great week. See ya. Bye.